Is your workplace toxic? Is it draining? Is it exhausting? Does it feel oppressive and tiring? Is it impossible for you to get up every day to go to work? Is it pulling the life out of you instead of giving life to you in some way? Stick with me for just a minute, and I'll walk through the top 5 ways to know if you are in a toxic workplace. Before we get started, I'd like to ask you for a big favor. YouTube loves interaction. Likes and comments really help me, and I love interacting in comments as well. Please do that if you have a chance. Also, subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can hear about when other videos are coming out. Now let's get started. The top 5 ways to know if you're in a toxic work environment are these. The first one is the one that I started to talk about at the very beginning of this. It's the spirit of oppressiveness. It's this feeling that you don't want to go to work every day. It's a dread that comes over you when it's time to go to work. And I define that as a negative atmosphere. So there's this pervasive sense of negativity or a culture of fear where employees are overly competitive, they gossip, there's constant fear of making mistakes. That's incredibly toxic. That type of atmosphere stifles creativity and leads to low morale. It's not the place that you want to be. That sort of oppressiveness, negative atmosphere, that's the number one sign. I'll give you number one first. Number 5 is really good, but number 1, negative atmosphere. That is toxic. What's interesting about that is it may not feel the same for everybody, right? It may feel super negative to you, but to the next person, it's not. And it might be in how you're being treated as well. So if you're being treated in a way that feels like it's unfair, if you feel like there's a lack of balance in the way that people are treated, if you feel there's a lack of recognition, a lack of support, those are all toxic things. It makes people feel undervalued, makes you feel unsupported. It signals a lack of acknowledgement for hard work and absence of constructive feedback. It offers minimal opportunities for professional growth. Those all signal a toxic work environment. So number 1 was negative atmosphere. Number 2, lack of recognition and support. Number 3 is a lack of work-life balance. A place can be toxic. It can be a place that you enjoy. It can be a place that you're excited about going to. But if you're there all the time, if you're working hours and hours and hours, you don't see your family and you're not able to get enough sleep and people expect you to be there all the time, that's a lack of work-life balance. Now, there's some careers that just require this, and it may not be okay. I don't know. But I think of doctors in their residency. That's normal for them to work under great stress. It's actually part of the curriculum for them to be stressed. So that happens pretty often. You think about attorneys who are billing hours. They do the same thing. They have the same sorts of issues. Workplaces that demand excessive overtime and encroach upon your personal time on a regular basis, they show a lack of respect for your personal commitments, and they contribute to this toxicity of the place. That lack of balance leads to burnout and dissatisfaction. It's not a place you want to be anymore. So lack of work-life balance is a sign of a toxic work environment. Next is poor communication, consistently not giving clear instructions, a lack of transparency, information that's withheld and hoarded, like the hoarders of information. You can't tell anybody about this thing. I'm going to tell you about this, but I'm not sure that I'm allowed to. Those sorts of things are toxic. It gives this sense of haves and have-nots, or people who are on the inside track and people who are not. It makes it feel like you're not in the know about something, and you feel like you should be in the know. You work at this place. You're part of this team. It leaves confusion, and you don't know what your expectations are. And it's hard to create in a place where you don't know what the rules are. You don't know what the expectations are on a day-to-day basis. Poor communication is number 4. Finally, the biggest sign that you're in a toxic work environment. This one is super straightforward. High turnover rates, meaning all the people around you seem to be leaving. Maybe you should leave too. When all the people around you start to exit, the noticeable pattern of people leaving the organization, that's a red flag. Other people have noticed something, and they've said, this is not for me. I'm not sure I want to be here. A high turnover rate is the most obvious indicator of a place that people just don't want to be, a place that isn't offering the sort of values to their employees that the employees expect. So they leave and go somewhere else. That is a huge red flag. High turnover rate is the last one. So there you have it. The 5 biggest signs that you're working in a toxic environment. So what do you do about it? What do you do about it? Step 1, you look around and you see if there's another job. The big deal for you is you need to stay at a company for 2 years. You don't have to stay in the same job. So what I would do is if I've been there for 1 year and I feel like I'm in a really toxic place, I really think it's damaging to your resume to move in under 2 years. I really do. So what I would do is I would look for another role and another team to go to, because it might be just your boss is toxic. I've worked in a toxic place, but the main reason is I had a toxic boss. This lady was a piece of work. You have no idea what she was like. It was crazy. I had to get out of there, and I did. But I could have, if I needed to, gone to a different part of the organization, and that would have been a way to get out of that toxic environment that she was creating and to give myself some more time without damaging my resume. That's something to be really aware of. You don't want to leave a company in under 2 years. So find other options if you can. That's step 1. If you've been there for 2 years or more, you can just go somewhere else, go to another place. There's lots of things on this channel that help you understand the best ways and the easiest ways to find jobs. It's a tough market out there, but you can do that. It's on you to make your escape if you need to. The third and last thing that I'll recommend to you is you set some boundaries. So you are able to set some boundaries and say, I'm sorry, I can't work after this hour. My work-life balance doesn't allow it. I'm really stressed. I'm tired. I just need to catch up on my sleep. And I'm not able to work the extra hours that you're demanding of me. You set that boundary. They really can't legally do anything about that if you're working outside of the normal hours. So set that boundary. The other thing that you can do is if there's negativity around you, just stop it. Say, if there's a lot of gossip, I really don't want to be in the middle of the gossip here. This gossip isn't helping us. It's not helping the company, and it's harshing my mellow, man. It's really messing with me. So let's shut that down. If there's a culture of fear, just confront the fear. The best way to beat fear is to confront it. To say, hey, when you say that, it really bothers me. It really freaks me out. What do you really mean by this? And you seek explanation of the things that are causing you fear. If someone's subtly undermining you, just call it out. Darkness disappears in light. Shine a light on that thing, call it out, lay out that boundary. That darkness evaporates. It's gone. And what you're left with is a very clear picture of exactly what the intent of that negative atmosphere was. So you get to do that. You can do that. You can model some behaviors. You can start modeling the behavior of recognizing people, calling people out. The company I work for now does this incredible thing where before, at the start of every meeting, they recognize 2 or 3 people who have lived the company's values. I've never seen that before in my life. It's a culture of recognition. It's a culture of support. And you can start modeling those sorts of things. Hey, before we get started, let me just say, so-and-so was really helpful to me the other day. I had this problem. They were able to solve that problem. And what I've learned working at the company that I work at, where you're basically called on to say, hey, do you have a person to compliment today? I had learned a trick from my boss, which is to go back to my previous week's calendar and the meetings that I had and just jot down a couple of people who really stood out in those conversations and in those meetings to have in my back pocket. So if I'm leading a meeting where no one's really able to come up with an idea of somebody, not everybody does that. Not everybody has that sort of ready all the time. It's not a normal thing for me culturally either. I'm learning how to do this. That helps. And that's something I literally just learned. And I think it would be helpful for you too. So those are some tricks. How to recognize a toxic work environment and a few things that you might be able to do to improve the work environment around you. I'll tell you, if you're the voice of positivity, if you're the one that's the one who's turning things around, and everybody else, if you feel the oppression, if you feel the heaviness when you come into work, the people around you are feeling it too. They really are. And if you come in and start offering solutions and start standing up for yourself and start setting a precedent, People will recognize that and be supportive of that. Now, it might be you have a really toxic boss, and that toxic boss won't recognize it. But if everybody else is unified around that boss, that problem gets solved really fast. The problem gets solved really fast in that situation. You are empowered. You are empowered to fix the toxicity around you. You're empowered to find a new role. You're empowered to have exactly the place that you want to work. You should go to a place and feel joy and acceptance and excitement and be in a place that gives you energy and doesn't suck energy away. I wish for that for you. I hope you find that. I'll see you on the next video.